In the quiet suburbs of Maplewood, where the streets were lined with ancient oaks and the nights were filled with a serene silence, 16-year-old Emily had always felt safe. Her world was one of predictable routines: school, homework, and the occasional movie night with friends. That was until Thomas moved to the neighborhood. Thomas was a year older than Emily, with a charming smile and an easygoing attitude that made him instantly popular. They met in the school library, bonding over a shared interest in classic literature. Emily found his company refreshing, a gentle breeze in the otherwise still air of her life. As weeks turned to months, their friendship blossomed. They exchanged texts, shared jokes, and walked home together. But Emily started to notice a change in Thomas. His texts became more frequent, his jokes more personal, and his demeanor possessive. The shift was subtle at first. Emily brushed off the uneasy feeling, attributing it to her own overthinking. But the air around Thomas thickened with expectation, his friendly smile now a mask hiding something more ominous. It came to a head one autumn evening. Emily, feeling overwhelmed by Thomas's constant attention, decided to take a step back. She sent him a message, gently explaining her need for space. She expected understanding. What she received was a storm. Thomas's response was swift and cold. He accused her of betrayal, of leading him on. His messages, once a source of laughter, became dark and accusatory. Emily, shocked by the transformation, decided to cut off communication entirely. The decision, meant to bring peace, instead opened a floodgate. Thomas began a campaign of harassment, his anger spilling over into the halls of their school. He spread rumors, tainted her image, and turned friends into wary strangers. Emily's younger brother, Jake, became an unwitting pawn in Thomas's game. Barely 14, Jake was small for his age, an easy target for someone looking to inflict pain. Thomas, fueled by spite, found in him an outlet for his rage. It started with verbal taunts, then escalated to shoving in the corridors. Jake, confused and hurt, tried to hide the bullying from Emily, but the bruises and his silence spoke volumes. Their parents, caught up in the demands of their jobs, remained oblivious to the growing storm. Emily, feeling the weight of responsibility, took it upon herself to protect her brother, her own fears pushed aside in the face of his distress. One evening, the situation reached a terrifying climax. Emily came home to find the front door ajar, a chilling breeze whispering through the gap. Her heart raced as she stepped inside, the familiar setting now a landscape of fear. The house was in disarray, objects thrown about, the air heavy with the scent of anger. On the kitchen table lay a note, Thomas's handwriting unmistakable. It was a message of venom, a promise of retribution for her rejection. Frozen with fear, Emily called the police. They arrived, their presence a temporary shield against the chaos. But the damage was done. The sanctuary of her home, once a haven, was now tainted with the shadow of threat. In the days that followed, Emily's world shrank. She avoided the routes she used to walk, the corners of the school where Thomas lurked. Her laughter faded, replaced by a constant, nagging anxiety. Her friends, once distant, began to rally around her. They had seen the change in Thomas, the darkness that had seeped into his eyes. They offered support, a protective circle against the hostility. But the real change came from within. Emily, once timid and hesitant, found a reservoir of strength she didn't know she had. She stood up in class, spoke out against the bullying, her voice a clear bell in the silence. The school, forced to acknowledge the issue, took action. Thomas was reprimanded, his behavior scrutinized. Slowly, the tide turned. The whispers in the hallways changed, from judgment to support. Thomas's harassment waned under the watchful eyes of authority. But the scars remained, invisible lines etched in Emily's heart. She learned to navigate the world with a new wariness, a sense of vigilance that tinged her days. The experience, dark as it was, brought unexpected gifts. Emily found solidarity in her friends, courage in her actions, and a deeper understanding of her own resilience. She emerged from the shadow, not unscathed, but stronger. In the calm that followed the storm, Emily looked at her reflection, seeing not just a girl who had been harassed, but a young woman who had faced her fears and triumphed. The streets of Maplewood, once a backdrop to a nightmare, were now pathways to a new beginning.